Hello everyone and welcome back to a Best-of-7 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Zerg versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on a map called Go Round LE. Now, if that doesn't ring a bell, I don't blame you. This map was very popular back in 2014, and maybe if you're a fellow StarCraft 2 boomer like myself, you may recognize it. But personally for me, it's also been a very long time since I've last seen a game on this particular map. So here's the thing. This particular Best-of-7 is the grand finals of a recent OlimoLeague Invitational. As a matter of fact, it was played just a couple of days ago. And the OlimoLeague Invitationals have all been awesome because basically they've been regular StarCraft games, but with a twist. And the twist they decided to go for this time around is that all of the games in this Best-of-7, they're gonna be played on old StarCraft 2 maps, which personally I'm really excited for. Obviously, if you are unfamiliar with the maps, I will be giving you a quick rundown of them because most of them are going to be very interesting. I don't really know exactly what's included either, but I know this one, for example, is already a little bit strange because it's not just your regular 1 versus 1 map, as you may have already noticed by this very first Overlord. This is a 3-player map, which is a bit strange. Anyways, so first off, in the top right-hand corner of Go Round, playing here with the Red Zerg drones from South Korea, well, we have one of the all-time greatest in StarCraft 2, and his name is Rogue. His opponent, on the left side of the map, playing with the blue Protoss probes, we are looking at Classic's main Nexus. And Classic, I do kind of feel like he's going to be a bit more comfortable here because Classic was very good right around the 2014 era. I just looked it up. I mean, he's been good for a very long time, but he did win a GSO Code S back in 2014. So while Rogue also certainly played the game back then, he didn't really start winning tournaments until like the year or two after 2014. So I can imagine that Classic at the very least is going to be a bit more familiar with these maps. Let me put it like this. Anyways, in case you're unfamiliar with the OlimoLeague, I'll go ahead and post a link to their Patreon page down below in the description of this video. I am not really affiliated with them in any way. I mean, I know the people that put out the tournament, but that's really about it. I've been a supporter of theirs for a long time. Highly recommend you go check it out. The way that they run their Korean tournaments is by just simply the prize pool that they can do because of their Patreon supporters. So if you want to support Korean SC2, highly recommend you go check them out. They've been awesome for a very long time, consistently putting out tournaments. And I mean, these in particular, I'm a big fan of. I've noticed on YouTube, especially the games that are like standard but with a twist, those tend to do very well as far as like the viewer count goes, because I know a lot of you enjoy watching conventional StarCraft 2, but personally, I also obviously love watching that, but it's a lot of fun to see the players, you know, in a unfamiliar situation that's still maybe slightly familiar, right? Anyway, so let's talk about 3-player maps for just a little bit. By the way, it's going to be a Twilight Council opener here from our Protoss player. This is something that I think Rogue is going to scout. The main base is pretty big. Wind Park. I actually think that's the map creator. Did he put his signature? Yeah, he put his signature in every single... Where is it? Yeah, there we go. In every single main base. Fair enough. He's an artist after all. It's a little bit awkward, actually, if Rogue sends in an Overlord, and he's not going to get the scout right here of the structures. Anyways, 3-player maps. We have seen them from time to time in StarCraft 2, but the problem is that most of the time they are horribly imbalanced for certain spawns. As you can imagine, it is obviously still going to be mirrored, so every side of the map is going to be identical. But yeah, a 3-way mirror is a little bit different, and in general, it is definitely harder to properly balance, right? So in some situations, for example, you may run into an issue where a Terran can go for a push where the siege tank is basically unreachable, but if the opponent would have spawned in the opposite direction, that location wouldn't have been viable, right? So there's a lot of those little things that you have to keep in mind. I personally have always been a big fan of 3-player maps. At the very least, in theory, I think it's awesome, but realistically speaking, it can definitely be something that's extremely difficult to pull off. With the most recent StarCraft 2 map contests, we have once again seen 3-player maps, and we've also seen 4-player maps once again, which I also think are, yeah, definitely something that can be very fun. They haven't made their way into the StarCraft 2 map pool just yet, but wouldn't be surprised if that is going to be the case at some point here in the future. A couple of Zerglings here wanted to go into the base. They did slow down this Adept push. Classic has decided to warp in some additional Adepts, and there's actually the Robo Bay going down as well. So I don't think Classic is really going to be putting down a third base here anytime soon. Rogue already using the map terrain here very nicely. Oop, no cancel. Anyways, he's running the Zerglings around while trying to make sure he can still defend at home. Okay, Classic instead now decides to finish up the wall off entirely. So these Adepts are going to be warped in defensively. Classic is going to cancel it once again. And let's see how much damage he, in the meantime, can do on the other side of the map. Okay, not the greatest. Yeah, not the greatest shade-in. Normally, you need at least a couple of roaches to properly deal with this, and they are popping out of those cocoons right now. If he loses 0 workers, that's obviously amazing, right? There's going to be a recall, and I would say that is a pretty stellar defense right here from our Zerg. The thing is, though, obviously he was producing a ton of links during all of this too, and it's not like Rogue really has that much economy of his own. As a matter of fact, it's only 38 drones right here for our Zerg, going up against 45 probes from our Protoss player. So at this point, he must have recognized as well that there's no third nexus anywhere to be seen. And actually, look how hard those third bases are to take. Yeah, they're so far away from the natural. There's actually really no way that Protoss is going to easily be able to secure those. And that is really a theme in old StarCraft 2 maps. They just weren't particularly friendly for expending, right? A lot of those maps are, yeah, very nice for players that like to play 2-base timing attacks, but they're not so good for players that like to play a little bit more macro focus, at the very least if you're a Protoss. Obviously, though, back in the day, Disruptors were in a unit on this map. And so were a couple of others as well. Plus, the meta obviously has changed entirely. But honestly, the players right now have already been adjusting, yeah, back down to what was normal back in the day. So, very late lair here. Disruptors are going to be very strong, though. Yeah. So, there's 2 of them out already. They have been spotted here by that Overlord, too. Eventually, a third Nexus does go down. Obviously, one big change that Blizzard has made through the years is that your main and your natural expo are going to run out a little bit quicker. So there's less resources on a bunch of these mineral patches. So it's quite difficult actually for Protoss to stay on these 2 bases for a long time. Either way, he did get the speed prism right now. He's got 2 disruptors in the mix. This is kind of like a StarCraft 1 Reaver drop. I like the idea. The Queen's taking a little bit of damage, but you're really looking for a bit more than that. Obviously, they can just transfuse each other back up to full. Alright, that's a lot of Adepts though. He's been warping in Adept after Adept. So, Classic wants to win this game by, I guess, just shading his opponent's bases to death. And at the very least, killing, like, you know, a dozen drones. If he doesn't kill at least a dozen drones, I'm starting to be a little bit concerned here. There's a Disruptor drop once again. Good splits. Decent splits this time around here from our Zerg. There go the Shades once again. Prism running dangerously low on health. I thought for a second it was making a beeline right there for that Spore Crawler. I mean, these are still Adepts with the Speedy Boy upgrade, though. They attack very quickly. And while they can't really face off against the Roaches and Ravagers head-on, they can definitely do a decent job. Okay, he decides to shade in half of them. He can definitely still do a decent job against Zerglings. The drones are starting to fall, and this is now looking a little bit better. Obviously, those Disruptors can also be used defensively. Oh my god. I say that as, you know, a Prism with 2 Disruptors go down. Now all of a sudden a Roach Ravager counterattack could become a disaster. Yeah, that's very sloppy. He decided to return with a red HP War Prism. Obviously, it does return some shields if it's not in combat for a little bit, but definitely not ideal. Okay, he's desperately warping in 5 sentries right now. My god, 9 sentries in total. If he had 2 Disruptors here, I would have liked the defense a little bit better, but yeah, here we go. Okay, Corrosive Bowels are popping those force fields here eventually. Sentries are trying to tickle to death whatever they can. Here's the Prism as well. Obviously, you can keep a lot of these units alive by juggling them. Okay, Corrosive Bowels right there, not connecting with the Adepts. Good control. Man, imagine if he would have had 2 Disruptors here. It would have been so straightforward. I actually love this, using one of the Overlords as well to put a little bit of creep down, allowing those Zerg units to maneuver around a little bit easier. There's the Battery Overcharge, another ability that definitely wasn't around back in 2014, but the Pylon gets bowled down right away. Yeah, losing that Prism may have actually just, may have just sealed the deal. Little bit sloppy there from our Protoss player, getting punished right away against someone of the caliber of Rogue that is going to be extremely hard to pull off. Rogue not really making his way through this army just yet, but I've got a feeling Zerg reinforcements are going to stream in pretty soon. The problem is Adepts are nice and all, but they're really not very good as like straight up fighting units against Roaches and Ravagers. At the very least, not at the same rate as like, for example, like Charge Lots or Blink Stalkers would be. Slowly but surely they're being picked off right now. There it is. Game number 1, after losing that very first Prism, goes in favor of the Zerg. Did Merry Go Round make you feel nostalgic yet? Maybe not. Maybe not so much. What about King Sejong Station? So this is a map that was very popular back in 2016 and one of the most played maps historically in StarCraft 2 ever. So to put it in perspective, Merry Go Round had 2.4k pro games played on it. So 2.4k tournament matches, which is a very respectable amount. King Sejong Station, however, 4.8k. Now, I also do believe that this map was around for, like, forever. At the very least, at the time, it felt like we saw this map basically every single day. Yeah, so that obviously helps it quite a bit. But there's no denying that this is one of the most loved maps ever in StarCraft 2. Now, personally, if I'm being honest, I was playing the game a lot back then, and I wasn't really the biggest fan of it myself because it's a rather technical map, right? So as a caster, I love it because there's a lot of little things that you have to keep in mind if, you know, you're a pro gamer, so it makes the map more difficult. But in my mind, the game has already always been difficult, right? So to also then take into account the map and everything is very tricky for me personally. For example, one thing that's easily forgotten about, I used to play quite a bit of Protoss back then. There's rocks in the back of your natural expo. Now, early on, you may play a perfect early game, and then you forget about the rocks in the back of your natural, and all of a sudden you got units in your base. Not quite ideal, but that's not really all. This map is very different in loads of ways. So I remember this little pathway right over here. So between the third base and the main base, there's this awkward little corridor where you can definitely hide structures if you really want to. So it doesn't really lead anywhere. So this is all inaccessible, but you can put structures down in that little, I don't know, that little nuke right over there. But besides that, the center part of the map is kind of cool. With like high grounds over here, but especially the flanks are really weird. So say, for example, you take this as your third base. There's this like high ground area that goes all the way around. There's a little divot over here as well where you can put units down, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, it just twists and turns all over the map, and it's very confusing and very hard to keep track of your opponent's army. Now, obviously, if you're really good at the game, that shouldn't be an issue, and it should be something that you can, differentiate your gameplay with as well. But there's no denying that I always kind of struggled in just regular games of StarCraft, and then to think about map strategy as well. Hard enough for me as it is. Anyways, one thing that Protoss players started doing back then is put their second pylon not inside of the main base, but on the low ground instead. In this case, it's going to be a Stargate here for Classic. I like it a lot because while the ground-to-ground distance from one side of the map to the other side of the map is quite long, the air-to-air distance is really not that long, right? So since you're expanding with the natural expos towards each other, the units that Classic wants to produce out of the Stargate should arrive nice and early on the other side of the map. So this is something that Rogue is going to have to take into account as well. He's going to need the queens in the right position. There's really no way that Protoss is going to send an Oracle towards the main base, right? So as long as you got the queens over here, maybe even a Spore Crawler, you should be okay. Yep, there's going to be an Oracle first. Overlord, once again, is not going to be able to find out too much. Rogue is sending it into the main base, probably forgetting about the fact that Pylon on the low ground right there was very popular. Anyways, this should be very cool. You can have some epic ground battles on this map, by the way. I hope he's not going to stick around on Stargate units for too long, because especially ground wars here are very cool. Alright, so Rogue is looking around the main. I guess historically the main bases in StarCraft maps were also a little bit bigger, right? It feels like these days you can kind of scout everything with one Overlord, but Rogue right now not really getting the best of visions. Oracle made it towards the natural expo. How much damage will it deal? 4 drones is not bad at all, despite the fact that there were 2 queens waiting. That obviously take a lot of hull damage on that Oracle too. So as far as tournament wins go for both of these players, first off, Classic in 2016, 2016, which is when this map was played a lot. So between May 2016 and November 2016 is when this map was played a lot. Anyways, so Classic didn't actually win a Premier Tournament that year, but he did make it to the semifinals of a GSL code S. No, actually, it was an SSL. So a StarCraft 2 Star League instead. Another Korean tournament where he got taken down by Dark. Rogue in 2016 got to the semifinals of a Home Story Cup, which also isn't the best result. But 2017 is really the year where Rogue started popping off. So, my wish apparently will not be granted. It is going to be a Stargate map. Although, look at that. Classic got to go for the Tempest. You know what? Tempest obviously have changed quite a bit over the years. I can imagine Tempest harassing a natural mineral line from a distance. Yeah, look at that. Ooh, I actually really do like this now. He's even gone for the the Tempest building improvement, right? So, like, it will do way more damage to buildings once that upgrade is done. He's chrono-wisting out 2 of the Tempests at once. Very cool. Anyways, to put it in contrast, right? So, Rogue, his best result in 2016 was the semifinals at a Home Story Cup. In 2017, he became the world champion of StarCraft 2. So, yeah. Best result in 2016 was $2,000 at that semifinals. Best result in 2017 was $280,000 at the global finals. Not bad whatsoever. Alright, so I like what Classic is doing. Classic is playing the maps. Very cool, right? He's not really playing what is necessarily the strongest strategy right now in the meta of StarCraft 2. Getting a queen here is really nice. Anyways, obviously the Tempest has been spotted. Spire instantly goes down, but Rogue not really thinking about this potential build. I think going for a Stargate here is basically a no-brainer. He does have a couple of Zerglings over here on the other side of the map, but I've got a feeling that the units here for our Protoss should be more than okay. This is where the real action is at. Look at this, Classic! Even putting down shield batteries in the back of, I guess, the natural expo of the Zerg? This is actually so sick! This is actually so broken, isn't it? He's not even sending in all of the Tempest. Almost feels a little bit BM. I guess he's busy microing here on the other side of the map. Yeah. Obviously, the maps were also very, very much so in charge of balance. So, certain maps were just simply better for one faction than it was for the others. There it is. Tempest dealing a ton of damage right here to those Spore Crawlers. Now that their building damage improvement is done as well, you can see they deal so much damage with those magical-looking fireballs. The color always reminds me of like a Warcraft 3 spell, right? Barely even seems like a StarCraft skill to me. Alright. I don't know exactly how many Tempests you need to one-shot a queen. The number is either 5 or 7. I think it's 5. Yeah, it should be 5. Alright, so Zergling's going in for the counterattack. There's Corruptors right now coming up as well. He's starting to hit... Oh my god, hello. Classic. Sleeping on the job there for a little bit. He's very busy trying to defend the natural expo. Apparently, there's a gimmicky wall-off happening over here, but it looks like he's holding on. I'm just a little concerned for when the first influx of those Corruptors comes out. Because there's 11 just about to pop out. I mean, I actually really do like the fact that Classic has still mixed in a lot of Void Rays here, too. So Void Rays are phenomenal against Corruptors. Classic knows what's coming here. So there's the Corruptor showing up. Natural is running dangerously low on health, by the way. Okay, here we go. Is there enough right here for a Protoss player to actually fight against these units? Yeah, so Rogue is trying to stutter step here. There's the Prismatic Alignment being activated. He shouldn't really disable it, no. I actually like that he didn't. That cooldown is quite long. The cooldown has already started as soon as you activate the ability, not, you know, when the ability is running out. 7 more Corruptors are coming up, though. We are getting to the point where Rogue can start stutter stepping and picking off one of those units at a time. You always want to be moving in between shots with those Corruptors. But I think that this is a pretty good situation for our Protoss, right? Because while this is all going on, Classic is happily building up his eco. There's another Stargate even on the production tab right now, too. Yeah, this is not a strategy you could do back in 2016. I mean, shield batteries, for one, weren't the thing. You know what? The Corruptor count is becoming quite high. You send in an additional probe right now for some more shield battery construction. At this point, the shield batteries over here are also very low on energy. Most of these Protoss units are also running dangerously low. Look at the resources lost, though. Alright, that's pretty good. It's pretty good for our Protoss. Alright, 4th Nexus coming up in the center of the map. Yeah, I guess the alternative is right there on the side. It's not ideal. To be fair, Rogue will have to address this first. There's really no way that he can counterattack other than with some Zerglings. Okay. I almost feel like building a Nexus over here, man, so you can battery overcharge the shield batteries. Maybe that would be a bit much, but... +1 flyer attacks are coming up. There's now even 4 Void Rays on the production tab, and he did already get this speed improvement for the Void Rays too. Okay, another Tempest gets picked off. You know what? The Corruptor count is climbing, though. Yeah, we're now on 18 Corruptors. While quite a few of them have gone down, Rogue is controlling this well, all things considered. All of the Tempests at this point have been targeted down. There's the Infestation Pit as well. 4th hatchery on the right side of the map. Yeah, Void Rays are so quick! They're gonna kill that base in a heartbeat. Yeah, he scouts right now that the Void Rays are missing, so he doesn't know where they are, but you can probably guess. Alright. That's all you really need to do, right? I would love to see a Mama ship coming up right now for Classic as well, and just, you know, go into a full Skytos force, maybe do like a Disruptor transition, or a couple of Void Ray, or sorry, a couple of High Templar in the mix, something along those. There's another Stargate, sure mate. Stargate number 5 coming up. Remember Loco 5 minutes ago, or 8 minutes ago, mentioning that I would like to see a ground battle on this map? Classic had none of that. Classic didn't want to see any of it. Corruptors are starting to become a little adventurous, though. Yeah. They can puka base to death very easily. Okay, that was really just to force a reaction here out of Protoss. Get that prismatic alignment on cooldown. While the ability is on cooldown, he could obviously fight these Void Rays a little bit more easily. Anyways, Hive is coming up. Man, right now I play a lot of Zerg, obviously, right? It would be the worst playing on this map against Protoss. It would be so rough. This seems like an instant veto for me. I've been losing plenty already, okay? Like, over the last week or so, I'm down like 200 MMR. I've gone from like rank 65 Grandmaster to like rank 160 or something like that. It's been painful. I don't, yeah, as a Zerg player, I really don't want to be playing this map, man. So there's 5 more gateways coming up. Can we please get the charge upgrade going here, Mr. Classic? I feel like having that would not be a bad idea. He doesn't care. I guess the Zealots here are mostly just a thing for when he can't produce more Void Rays. Okay, that base once again gets killed. Yeah, this map is a disaster. It would not work in 2022. Okay, well. Yeah, the Void Rays have returned. There's really no way Classic is gonna lose this, right? I say that. Rogue, one of the very best Zerg players in the world, some of the best micro that we have in the game as well. He's not gonna be able to win the economical battle, which is usually what Zerg needs to do. But he is well capable of controlling like 4 units worth of control groups. So he's got Corruptors, he's got Queens, he's got Corrosive Biles, and soon he's gonna have... Okay, well that base is dead. He's gonna have no natural, but also Parasitic Bomb is what I was gonna bring up. Maybe if he can also mix in a fungal... Wow. A fungal... That's weird. A fungal growth? That would be nice. Yeah, no. I don't see it happening. He's probably gonna try and pounce on this army. Okay, the Corruptors are right over here, but at this point it feels like the Void Ray count. Yeah, 26 Void Rays! 26 Void Rays! There's no way. Lasers. Bzz, 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 bzz. Oh, well, he is splitting. He's not splitting! Come on, bro! You're making all the Protoss players look bad right now with that split reaction speed. Ay, 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 that was awful. Anyways, yeah. With Rogue losing another base, there's no way he's gonna win. Alright, what about this one? I know that this is an all-time favorite in the StarCraft community. We find ourselves on Daybreak LE. Now, King Sejong Station is a very popular map. This one is even more popular. As far as tournament games go, it's got 5,413 pro games logged. It's a while ago since I've seen a game on this map. I know it made a resurgence once upon a time as well, like 5 years ago. They added it for fun in like one of the StarCraft 2 map pools. It was pretty neat for some time. But, you know, we found out pretty quickly that it was rather dated. I remember some sick games, especially from Stefano on this map. Like, there were Void Ray openers that Protoss used to go for back then as well, and Stefano was like, no, I'm gonna make 200 supply worth of roaches. And he would basically kill everyone before, you know, the Void Rays could kill anything. And everyone was like, what? You can do that? That sounds illegal. You don't even have units that shoot up. Anyways, the game has changed a lot. And obviously for the better as well. Look at this wall off. Oh my god. So the default in StarCraft 2 is to be able to wall off with 3 3x3 structures. Gateways being one of those. This one requires like 5, man. That's... that seems awful. People used to also wall off with pylons in the walls back then. Which, you know, if you're a Protoss player, you're probably already cringing a little bit. Because you can just imagine the Banelings rolling into your natural. There's a reason why we normally don't see that in StarCraft 2 anymore. Anyways, let's find out. So this map, I personally really liked. I played this map all of the time. It was awesome. So there's this third base right over here. Pretty far away, but it's got a much tighter choke than the natural, so it's... Oh yeah, I actually remember people would even try to wall this ramp right over here. So people would try to wall this ramp and then quickly go to the third and wall this area too. Obviously, that was only successful half the time because there's a lot of distance to cover. Plus, you're wide open right here from the right side. Anyways, there's the third right over here on the right side of the map, and then also a base in the middle. Now, the middle expos are very closely connected, and you can sort of like spy on each other as well if you take the watchtower, right? So there's a watchtower over here that covers like something along that line, right? And then there's one over here too, so you have some overlap there, so you can kind of like spy on each other, especially once the rocks in the middle of the map are down. You can essentially walk to your neighbor very easily, but it creates some very tense situations. Now notice as well, if you compare this to like a Glittering Ashes or a Pride of Altaris, right? Like some of the big maps that we have in the current map pool of StarCraft 2. There's really only a handful of bases you can take. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But this one is essentially impossible to acquire, and not really something that we see until much later. So you only really have 5 bases. And for the current meta in StarCraft 2, especially for like Terran versus Zerg or something, that seems pretty bad. Players take way more bases these days than that. Anyways, 5 is, yeah, too little. Too little. I think you need like 6 bases that are all relatively easy to acquire. That being said, Curious Minds, which is the smallest map in the current map pool, also doesn't have that many bases. I think it's got 12 in total. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 12. I'm trying to imagine the map right now. Yeah, I think it's 12. That one's been working out very well. Anyways, none of that is happening here. We've got ourselves a Robo Bay. We've got our Protoss opening up with a 2-base start. Can you wall this? Wait. Really? No. Yeah, okay. I was going to say, you need something else. It is not 5 structures, but it's not going to be enough to just wall it with 3 3x3 structures like that. Anyways, Robo Bay opener here once again from Mr. Classic. Classic, by the way, returned from the military some time ago. And I know he's been climbing through the ranks very rapidly. Rogue, obviously, I think everyone knows, one of the very best players for a long time. Let me actually have a quick little peek on our OlimoLeague, see where Classic is currently ranked. Because Classic has been looking very strong again recently. Classic and Hero in particular, too. Hero has been showing some very impressive gameplay. Classic, according to our OlimoLeague, now to rank 22 in the world. So, that's pretty sick. I think he's 30 years old right now. In StarCraft terms, that is on the older end of things. But a lot of the Koreans have found some success again after completing their mandatory military service. And yeah, it's been really cool. So there's the Roach Warren, there's the Lair. Rogue just simply making as many drones here as he can. Adding on some army, knowing very well that he's going to need some of it to try and pressure his opponent. Okay, so Graphitic Drive is going to finish up once again. That's the speed upgrade for this Warp Prism. It's got 2 disruptors in it. Try to not lose it this time around, Classic. He could have been 2-0 ahead. Anyways, he's got to follow it up right here with a Colossus that's still rallied on top of that Prism. Okay, he just moved it. I was going to say, we've seen that back in the day too, but not really something that should be allowed anymore. Whoa, the Queen right there. Oh, fell into an invisible wall right over there at the bottom. Beautiful lens flare, by the way. Very cool. Alright, so he's waiting for the disruptor cooldowns. It's gonna be available once again. Brenda! Super dead. Oh, not dead. Really? Really? Okay, then. That worked out much better there for Rogue than I thought. This is looking pretty good right now for the Zerg. Third Nexus still not up. Okay. No, he's not going for a third Nexus. Classic is falling into his old ways again, man. So this is just a third base fake. Yeah, Rogue right now scouts it as well. He knows that the third needed to be taken here. Instead, that additional money has been spent on additional gateways. So we're going to go up to 7 gateways here. It's going to be a very strong army. Once again, losing a disruptor there, though, is very sloppy. Not really what you want, but this time around, at least the Prism is still alive. Yeah, if you're going for a timing attack, you really need to try and, you know, hit a crisp timing attack, and especially your heavy hitters need to remain alive. There's the Spire coming up for Rogue. Okay. He's trying to mine as much gas here as he can. I think that this is going to be just an all-out assault, right? From Classic? Yeah, it should be. Okay, extended thermal lens here is done. That gives the Colossi a little bit more range. Which coincidentally was also my nickname in college. Okay, no. Sorry. It's a strange nickname, okay? It's a strange upgrade name. Okay, he's just trying to nip whatever he can. Nicely done. Full Wolof over here. Very curious looking Wolof. But Classic doesn't care. He's planning to win the game right here, right now with a old school timing attack. Ooh, Zerglings get roasted. Colossi are very specifically made here to deal with those Zerglings. And these days they're also... Ooh, I like it! Hallucination on the Colossi. So now it's hard for the Corruptors to decide which one they should target fire down. Okay, there's no way that all 4 of those are real. He does have some detection over here, so I think he can see which ones are real. Yeah, so he knows that there are hallucinations in the mix. And despite the fact that the Colossus... Okay, well, at the very least, that one stays alive for a little bit longer. Despite the fact that these have been dealt with by the Zerg player well so far, there's still a lot of Protoss army here on the back of this. Man, I feel like additional disruptors would have been so nice. Either way, I don't really see there being enough Zerg, right? Third base is now going to be killed. Prism was also dealt with, actually, with the Corruptors. So maybe just opt to kill the third base and then go back home. Got a feeling, though, Classic is going to get a little greedy here. He's like, yeah, I've cut off my opponent's supply over here, too. Capable of killing most of the things here. Now, it's a bit dangerous, though, yeah. I don't actually like this move all too much. I think he should have recalled and gone home. Corruptors are waiting around the main base, hoping they can snatch one of those prisms as soon as it pops out of the robo facility. There's no blink or anything available for these Stalkers. But obviously, as soon as they are off creep, it's going to be very doable for them once again. Apparently, Rogue has found himself an exposed cybernetics core. Whoa. Alright, a little aggressive there, Mr. Prism. Really? We're just going to go pure Stalker? I guess he can blink the Stalkers using the Prism, right? Is that the plan? Alright. Very ambitious. Yeah, not gonna get it. Good targeting right there by Rogue. That being said, the Stalker count is incredibly high. Yeah, the boys are pulled right now from their mineral lines as well. And despite the fact that Blink is not available, it looks like it's also not necessary. This Warpin will also finish, and I think that's pretty much all he needs. There it is. GG. Oof. Next up. Golden Wall LE. This is a map made by Subaru, man. It was very popular back in 2020. One of my absolute all-time favorite maps. I think it's great. Kind of wish it would come back. Really, it's a good map. It's really fun. And in general, we've seen some of the most epic games of StarCraft 2 on this map in particular. Now, obviously, after it was around for the better part of a year, it was just a little stale, I suppose, but it was still a lot of fun, though. So, the Golden Wall, right? It's called Golden Wall because there's a golden wall. If you look at the minimap, it's very easy to see. It kind of just, follows the mouse cursor right here. And essentially, you need to make the decision, do I want to expand to the top section of the Golden Wall or to the bottom section of the Golden Wall? As you can see, there's like mineral fields that are mineable right over here as well. And in general, there's a lot of modern map features on this one because, it's a pretty modern map. Probably made in like 2019 or so, maybe early 2020. So there's a bunch of map features that we see right now in StarCraft 2. And this one is a lot more, quote-unquote, conventional, right? Smaller main base. Standard ramp right over here at the natural. But the real interesting feature is that golden wall. Aptly named. Yeah. Rogue pulling a drone there to start chasing down the probe. Embracing his Wings of Liberty era, I guess. This is not something you actually want to do, I don't think, because it's such an inefficient way of using money. But I guess he really doesn't want to be harassed over here. He knows that the probe is going to be annoying to the mineral line, and he's just going to chase it. This is something I see in viewer games, man. Shouldn't really be happening at this level, but he's intentionally doing it. Anyways. Not expecting any crazy build orders here from either of these two, so Rogue obviously playing a very conventional style so far. Not really adjusting to the maps all too well, if I'm being honest with you. I think going for a Stargate pretty much every time seems like a good... Or sorry, a Zerg Stargate, right? A Spire pretty much every time is not a bad idea. This map, once again, also not a bad Spire map. There's a tropical bird flapping its wings. Yeah, this map was cool. I'm becoming very nostalgic casting these games. Alright, there's the Stargate opener from Classic. It's going to be putting it on the right side of the main base. Make it a little bit easier for that, well, probably Oracle, or maybe a Void Ray, to get across the map. But at the same time, he is also already mining out these mineral fields here in the back of the of the main base, rather. So this opens up like a secondary natural farm. These mineral fields have 20 minerals in them in total, each. So it does take 4 trips right here for the probe. You should probably target fire down that one. That's probably what he wants to do. Or target fire. Yeah, target the low ground mineral field here. This is one of those things that's quite tricky for the Zerg player to scout. Rogue could obviously send an Overlord over there, but he's been trying to do, cover his side of the map first here. Okay, so there's the Void Ray. Considering that Classic has been pretty slow when it comes to expanding to a third base throughout the series so far, I guess that this one is going to be at a conventional time. However, Rogue may very well be putting his opponent once again on a 2-base all-in. Okay. If Rogue can see that these mineral fields are mined out, though, that would be awesome. Yeah, he's looking for it right now. That Void Ray was sleeping on the job for a little bit, but it looks like it is going to still be capable of killing that that Overlord there before it scouted those mineral fields. Oracle, gotta go across the map. Void Ray also making a beeline right there, horizontally towards the other side. There's 2 queens inside our main as well as a Spore, though, so it should be more than okay. Rogue right now leaving a Zergling at one of the potential third bases. There's also the golden base. You could even mine this from the back too, right? But then you have no gases. Anyways, at this point, he probably recognizes what he's going up against, and it is going to be, indeed, that third base in the back. +1 flyer attacks coming up. Full wall off here at the front. So if he scouts that in a little bit, he probably is going to look here for the +1 flyer attack soon enough. You'll probably also notice that, indeed, that is a full wall. Fleet Beacon. +1 flyer. Second Stargate. Yep. Everything makes sense. 2 adepts over here holding hands. Making sure no Zerglings are going to be able to sneak in. But now he sees it. One thing Zerg can do is mine out the minerals right here in the center bit of the map. These are also low yield. So he's going to be able to get into the bottom section of the map very easily. And one thing to clarify, in case you haven't seen this map before, this is a full wall off. So even though it looks like the Zerglings should be able to run through these, they can't. The same obviously is right here on the other side. Looks to me as well, okay, like the Zerglings can just run through that, but they cannot. Physically impossible, okay? Until the mineral field is mined out, that is. Carrier number 1. Carrier number... once he's got the money for it. There, number 2. There it is. Okay, good. Yeah, so Zerglings are patrolling back and forth. Rogue doesn't need to scout the bottom section of the map, apparently. He knows what he's going up against. He knows what his opponent is capable of, so... Lair's gonna finish up here very late, man. Oracle still being as annoying as possible. Let's get 2 kills. So on this map, I actually think it's nice to not take all of your tech structures in the main base. Because we've seen it happen many times historically on this map, where like Protoss eventually manages to take the bottom section of the map and then the main base of the Zerg. And at some point in the meta of this map, we saw Zerg players even taking the lair at the third base and putting all of their important tech structures over here. Because that's not going to be something that Protoss can actually easily attack, right? This is like probably the most defendable base, despite the fact that it's the third. You see what I mean? Like, Protoss can just go in with carriers. I wouldn't be surprised if the main base falls. And if Rogue puts all of his tech structures over here, that could be an absolute disaster. Anyways, some of the tech structures here are inside of the natural, which is also something relatively easy to attack, but more defendable than the main. But the third base really is the location where everything is probably least exposed. All right, the 2 carrier hit squad. Classic once again playing the map. I think we should see a Spire from our Zerg. He's not going to cut it with Hydralisks. 13 drones going up right now. These units are so slow. Anyways, there is a creep tumor over here, so at the very least, Rogue can see these units coming in. He's going to be able to deflect this easy peasy for the time being, but everyone knows what happens once there's a reliable count of carriers. And actually, looks like Classic is adding on 8 additional gates. He's gone for the blink upgrade too. So if once again this is going to be a full-on Corruptor transition like we saw on King Sejong, there's no denying that Classic is going to be able to overwhelm his opponent with a bunch of Blink Stalkers, which I think is what the plan is. Queens have a lot of transfuses. Fourth Nexus, taken right now at a very exposed location. As soon as Zerg at least opens up the doors. Wouldn't mind seeing him mine out his own mineral fields, but I guess he wants to be extra careful. As a Zerg player, this kind of scares me though a little bit, right? Letting the Protoss player do whatever they like is like my personal nightmare. Like, it is not something that I personally want to be playing against. Because then you're forced to play the late game. More often than not. They don't have to. They can obviously still play a normal game as well with like a ground army transition, but let's be honest, most Protoss players will opt to not do that. Okay, there's the Templar Archives going up. Pathogen glands being researched here, the Infestor energy improvement, and looks like Neural Parasite has already been queued up as well. And there's more carriers. Rogue right now continues scouting, sees the additional production, notices, okay, I should probably go and get some Corruptors. Only just now going into the Evo Chamber upgrades. I guess he's just been building up his own economy. Yeah, spreading a lot of creep around the map. Already covered probably like, what? 40%? 35% of the entire map. Not bad whatsoever. Putting his signature on it as well, just like Wind Park. Okay, Bailing Nest. Yeah, Bailing Nest can be really good. The problem is, though, that, like, he needs to find a way to go into the bottom section of the map. Obviously, once it's open, though, you can't close it anymore, so he's probably a little hesitant. Alright. So, one little gateway over there was destroyed to allow this Protoss player to leave the base. Adrenal Glands is coming up. Rogue isn't ready for a fight yet. He's going Ultra Cavern, he's going Neural Parasite. If you can Neural Parasite the carriers, maybe there's a chance. There should be an Observer, though. Yeah, oh, well, there's only one Observer, and it has to go to, like, a forest of Spore Crawlers if it wants to join up with the main army. I'm assuming here that these Infestors are going to try and burrow underground. Okay. Yeah, if the Infestors burrow underground and can get a Neural Parasite, that would be pretty sweet here, right? If all of these carriers do switch sites. Anyways, we don't even have any Infestors, so never mind, guys. I'm hyping you up for a unit that doesn't even... Well, I guess it exists, but it hasn't joined the battlefield yet. Well, that's a lot of Corruptors, though, yeah. Okay. Carrier goes down. Rogue is very dangerous, though, with these sorts of armies. This is a very strange unit comp here from Classic. We don't usually see it for good reason. One Void Ray there gets killed for free. Zerglings going around the back. Banelings, well, they're going to finish up their +1 melee, but I think that this is going to be an absolute slammer right here for Rogue, isn't it? He's just target firing down the carriers one at a time, reinforcing this with additional Zerglings. Soon he can also go for Ultralisks, and like, even though, yeah, I guess Classic wants to do a similar move as he did in the previous game, he's just giving up a bunch of his Corruptors, and the Queens are keeping everything alive. There's a reason, okay, why we don't see this unit composition from Classic. Stalker Carrier is not very good. That's the reason. Anyways, Classic just happily expanding towards the southern corner of this map, the southern section of the map. I'm just becoming a little bit concerned here, because losing that many carriers for, you know, a bunch... Like, he killed 10 Corruptors, but, like, 10 Corruptors are far easier to replace than 6 carriers are, right? Like, that was an expensive set of units, a bait of a... Like, that's maybe a timing attack that works against weak players like myself. But Yeah, Classic went up against someone with like 24 queens and you don't really die. Like, it's very hard to kill a Zerg player if they have that many queens. Nidus network coming up. Is that the way we're gonna make our way to the bottom section of the map? Okay, I thought we were just gonna mine out mineral fields or... But we're gonna, I guess, pop a Nidus worm down? Protoss gonna see that, though. But don't know if there's enough here for our Protoss player to be able to respond to that as well. It's gonna be extremely hard right now for Classic to take these bases, assuming Rogue actually attack moves in that... Oh, God, in that direction. We saw the tail end right there of the Prism getting picked off. Queens by themselves should be more than okay. Very conservative transfuses there as well by Rogue. Nicely done. Great Aspire coming up. Ultra Speed coming up as well. Question is, where's the Nidus Worm gonna go? I think it's gonna be at the bottom. Yep. It's full in the vision here of Classic. Classic doesn't really have any units at the bottom section of the map, though. So... yeah, he's now taking control of the top section because he's taking the bases he can. There's not even any units in the worm. Rogue probably anticipating it also being killed, or maybe it's just using it as a bait. I think it was just meant as a bait right now, yeah. Ooh, the Archons get surrounded right away. Ultralisks are joining the fray. Corruptors are gonna kill whatever additional carriers were produced. Now the Zerg is streaming into the Natural Expo. A couple of Ultras, almost bad manner right here. Not even joining the fray. Immortal there gets killed. That one is absolutely critical for when it comes to cutting down all of those units. And the Queens... okay, they are the ones apparently now harassing the base here at the 6 o'clock. Look at this. GG's. Alrighty, next up. Whirlwind LE. Another old school map. This map was first used in 2012 in the GSTL, so the Team League edition of the GSL. Also made by Wind Park Prime. Another old school one. This time, luckily for Rogue, he is going to be sending his Overlord in the right direction because this is a 4-player map. So, our Protoss player in the top right. Zerg player in the bottom right. You can see right here, Classic. This is the worst feeling about a 4-player map. Classic is sending his first probe to the top left, which means that he's not going to arrive in the bottom right until the absolute latest possible time. And this is obviously also where a lot of the dislike of 4-player maps is at, because a lot of players are like, I don't know, man. I can just accidentally lose the game if I don't scout in the right direction, or I'm going to have to commit 2 probe scouts, but that's also quite a bit. If this would have been a 12-pool opener from Rogue and he would have magically run in the right direction, it could just be a straight-up build or a loss. A little bit of gambling, right? Probably not ideal in a game of StarCraft, but... Alright, so I expect that the left side of the map will be mostly uncontested. Oh, he's gotta go through the center? Really? I guess it doesn't matter if it's all diagonally and horizontally and... like, if it's all mirrored, it doesn't really matter. Rogue really doesn't want to get cannon rushed. Yeah, he's just ready to chase down a probe. I mean, if Rogue is doing it, I should do it too in my games, right? If Rogue has run the numbers and he's like, you know what, it doesn't matter that much. Okay, now he doesn't do it anymore. I guess he just wasn't entirely sure what the Protoss would be going for. And now he's scouted. Okay, it's going to be a Cyber Core on the other side of the map. Not much to worry about. What kind of tech structure is it going to be, Mr. Protoss? We'll have to wait and see. Whatever it will be, though, it's going to be attached to that second pylon instead of the main base. Yeah, once again, right? We are pretty close in air-to-air distance. Void Ray openers are pretty good. So on a map like this, you can choose if you want to expand in the direction of your opponent. Yep. You want to expand in the direction of your opponent, or you want to expand away from the opponent. So Rogue, more than likely, will be opting to expand horizontally here. Try and, you know, take these as like his first 4 bases, and then maybe take the one a little bit closer to home. Problem is, expanding towards the opponent can be a bit dangerous, whereas Protoss can definitely make a point when it comes to expanding in the direction of the Zerg, just so their reinforcements arrive a little bit earlier, and therefore they can negate some of that speed advantage that Zerg has. That being said, it is 2022. Queen pushes are very strong these days, so if Rogue wanted to be very aggressive, he could still take that one, but it is going to be the one right here horizontally. Oh, what? I feel like that one should have died. That drone laughs in the face of danger. Not a good trade there at all, by the way, for Classic. Losing an Adept right there for a drone is not worth it. I feel like that drone could have even been saved. If it would have gotten 2, though, it would have been nice. But... there's the Oracle. All right. Yeah, Whirlwind, I mean, the reason for the map name, right? So everything kind of spirals out of the center of the map. There's like, it's kind of like the shape of a whirlwind, right? It's good. It's an aptly named map. You can basically see the little arms extend from the center of the map. Like a tornado. Or a whirlwind. Hey. Anyways. Large main base once again. Yeah, main bases used to be bigger. It's not the size of the main base that matters. It's about how you use it, I guess. But if it's too big, it does become kind of tricky to cover. Third Nexus is going to be expended away as well from the Zerg. I don't expect we're going to see the fourth at 12 o'clock, though. Wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see it here at the 3 o'clock instead. This is another one of those map examples that has too wide of a natural. But also, that worked out quite well as far as, like, balance goes. So again, right, 4-player maps, very tricky for, yeah, balance reasons. If you want to get your units in the right position, oftentimes you can get better spots if you spawn in different locations. But it should be totally okay on this particular one. I don't think there's really any significant balance issues on this map. But it is the main reason why we stepped away from 4-player maps at the very least for some time. We really haven't seen them much at all in Legacy of the Void. But I personally wouldn't mind seeing them make an introduction into the game once again. I know in Brood War they still play them too. Players with more than 2 spawn, or sorry, maps with more than 2 spawn locations. Anyways, it is going to be that Stargate opener right here from Classic. Going into the +1 flyer attacks. I believe that this was just now spotted as well by Rogue. He's looking around the map. He knows that his opponent is taking a third. But for now, he's gonna be the one who will be a little bit more defensive. Throughout Legacy of the Void, maps overall have also started getting smaller again. So for a while, the maps were very large. This map, for example, seems huge. If you look at it right now, right from the minimap, I mean. I can't imagine a Zerg player going for a Queen Walk over here, even though these locations are, you know, relatively pushable. It could happen, but it would take forever for a unit to go across. 2 kills right here on his Oracle in total. And there's a Hydra then coming up for Rogue. Okay. Hydras in general right now, not a very popular unit at all. We mostly see them as a stepping stone to go towards Lurkers. But they can be very good. And Classic obviously has been very happy making Stargate units, but he hasn't really been transitioning towards like Storm or Disruptors nearly as early with those Stargate units. Although I think in this particular case, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it. There's the Robo Bay coming up. There's the Hydras. If you're going up against Disruptors, as a Zerg player, you have 2 proper options. Actually, hold that thought. Is there enough right now? Okay, there's not. As a Zerg player, you have 2 proper options against Disruptors. Either you split your units really well and try to micro against them, or you go up towards Vipers. This kind of looks to me like just a good old Roach Ravager timing attack here from our Zerg. Yeah, Rogue is making a ton of units. Soaking some energy here out of that shield battery as well. Obviously, this used to be an attack we saw a lot back in the day too. So once upon a time, the upgrades for the Hydralisk. So they have an upgrade called Muscular Augments, which is a movement speed upgrade, and then an upgrade called Grooved Spines, which is the one that's researching right now, which is a ranged upgrade. Once upon a time, for quite a while, those upgrades were merged together. So all you needed to do was just research one thing for the Hydralisks, and it would get both more movement speed as well as more range. And you can imagine there's some opportunity there for timing attacks because, well, you would just make a lot of Hydras, get the research, and then go right across the map as soon as you finish up the one upgrade, right? Right now, though, Rogue is going to need both of the upgrades before those Hydras can really be used offensively. It's very hard to use those units defensively if you don't have those upgrades done. He's still going to try. He's got the ranged upgrade done right now. Muscular Augments is coming up as a follow-up, but there's Colossi being produced. I already saw a Disruptor as well. Good luck splitting against Zerg, or yeah, against Protoss rather, with slow Hydras. You can still make it happen, but obviously that's very difficult. Alright. It's going to be about a minute until that upgrade is done. Oracle here gets donated. Apparently Classic trying to see if he can maybe force his opponent to back off just by being generous. Not gonna happen, sadly. No diplomatic advantages in this game. There's a stasis ward right over there on the high ground too, which I do quite like. Battery overcharge right there on the high ground too. Colossus pops out of the Robo facility. Colossi deal a ton of damage to Hydras, but they kind of suck against Roaches. So far, good movement right here from our Protoss player. Zealots also would love to charge right here at those Hydralisks. Very good control here so far by Rogue, though. Rogue completely maxed out right now. Muscular Augments is finally going to finish up. Disruptor once again moving forward. Okay. It is going to get some damage done, and it will be able to back off right now, too. Cybercore went down, so no Stalker Warpins, no Shield Battery, or, well, no Shield Batteries either, actually. But, like, a whole bunch of things cannot be produced right now, but Zealots, I think, are the main gateway unit here for Classic either way. I just realized, by the way, I didn't flip the scoreboard. Yikes. Anyways. Fixed it. Okay. Yeah, despite the fact that Rogue had, like, 80 more supply here than Classic. It's 80 supply of Zerg units, you fool! There's shield batteries there! Cybercore gets rebuilt. Very nice control there by Classic, though. Not jumping on that army, but just slowly approaching it. Obviously, he's got a much higher tier army here than his opponent, so... Roaches and Ravagers, very much so early to mid-game. Whereas Classic is already going mid to late game here with the units that he's producing. And they trade very well. Yeah. Rogue though also didn't really have a very strong economy on the back of it. Classic actually now taking the third base as the 3 o'clock base. As his fourth, so that is something I expected, although I think for now it will probably be cancelled. If the Zerg units decide to run on over there. Rogue himself decided to take the base closer towards the bottom left corner of the map. Shield battery gets targeted right away. Rogue splitting off a couple of units here from the pack, trying to just kill whatever he can, sending most of the Roaches out of here, which I quite like. Now, those are actually very nicely done here for Rogue. Moved in on the right side as well, managed to kill the base, it seems. And even though these Roaches are being chased down by Zealots and definitely aren't going to be able to make it home, that little hit squad was still responsible for killing a shield battery and 10 probes, which is well worth it. Maybe you can even grab some of the Zealots. Yeah. Don't like that decision very much from Classic. He's like, hey, you guys are close to the watchtower. Go check it out. Not a great way of playing. Anyways, fourth base is going to be extremely important here for Classic. Because again, in 2012, maybe your bases would run out, you know, by the 15-minute mark. Classic is already starting to run dangerously low here on the main and the Nat. But he does have a very strong army here. There's Storm in his army, there's a Disruptor in his army, there's Colossi, there's shield batteries, there should be sentries. Actually, no. No, there was 2 sentries somewhere. Am I blind? Oh, they're right there. They were pretending to be High Templar. My god, speaking of High Templar. Ooh, beautiful storms right there from Classic. At the same time, Classic has also split off his army here, just chasing down this Zerg force. Even gonna create a bit of a Zerg sandwich if the Zerg isn't careful here. With the amount of creep threat that Rogue has, you can see the whirlwind created right now on the minimap. At the very least, he's going to the circle right here, the center of that hurricane. Anyways, yeah, recoil is pretty helpful, huh? He should not be able to deal that much damage over here. Fourth Nexus is going to finish up very soon. While the Zealots are getting some work done over here, I think we really have to keep in mind this main army. Because this is one hell of an army here. There's not even a... Where's the Observer? Come on, Observer! There's so much creep to be killed! Anyways, units in the bottom left will be cleared up, but I think there might just be a bit too much right here for Classic, isn't there? Rogue still had a good amount of supply, but again, it's just low-tier units for the most part. Storm, obviously, pretty good still. Yeah, pretty good against these units. Colossi, not great against Roaches and Ravagers, but, I mean, it'll add up over time. Actually, love this. Void Rays there, target firing down the Roach Warren. They found an exposed Roach Warren, and that's actually the main unit right now that Rogue is using. But there it is. GG is called. Classic wins game number 5. Alrighty. Scoreboard. There we go. All right. Next up, Habitation Station. Another old school map in StarCraft 2. Haven't seen this one in a very long time. Yeah, this map is a long time ago. Ay, ay, ay. Barely even registers. I mean, I'm very familiar with it. And obviously the name rings a bell, but it has been a very long time since I've seen a game on this one. For some reason, it feels like this map is longer ago than some of the others. But from what I can tell, apparently it was used in 2014. Yeah. Made by a map maker called Sejong Station. Sejong Station. Sejong Station. What other maps did he make? Because the name does ring a bell. I'm trying to open up his creator page right now, but for some reason, it is not loading very quickly. Ah, there we go. He's a map maker from the USA. He made Abyssal Reef. Oh, that's why. Abyssal Reef, obviously, one of the most loved maps ever. Ascension to Ire, Habitation Station, and Battle on the Boardwalks. He also made Honor Grounds, King's Cove, Core Hall Carnage Knockout, and Moonlight Madness. Very cool. Yeah, Abyssal Reef being the most popular map. If this goes to a Game 7... Actually, I wasn't even paying attention to the main map. If this goes to a Game 7... Which, if it's up to Classic, it won't. If it goes there, though, I wouldn't be surprised if Abyssal Reef is going to be our final map. That is probably the most popular map in Legacy of the Void ever. Anyways, Classic has built all of his structures on the bottom of the ramp of the Zerg. Sorry, I was all tabbed out, looking at completely different things. It's probably someone right now shouting at their screen, right? Come on, Lowko, look at what's going on at the bottom of the ramp. Are you blind? Okay, I wasn't paying attention, okay. Maybe one day I can spec into chameleon eyes. Get like one eye, you know, pinpointed on the monitor and the other one on my other monitor to look up Wikipedia things. Anyways. Zealot going into the main. Come on, Rogue. You gotta defend this, man. I want to see what map 7 is. I think it's probably Abyssal Reef. Do I like this right here, though, from our Protoss? So he's gone for a robo facility. So he's doing like a contain inside of the... He's forcing the Protoss or the Zerg player rather to sit inside of the natural expo. Which is nice and all, but he's not expanding behind this himself. So this is going to be a complete one-base play right here from Classic. I guess he wants to go for some, like, Immortal juggling, right? Get the Immortal out, start a Prism, get a second Immortal, juggle the units, plop, 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 heal them up with the shield batteries, plop, 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 kill everything. Gotta hand it to Classic, though. Showing some crazy build order variety, which is awesome. Link speed is gonna finish up pretty soon here for Rogue. Only 16 drones right here for the Zerg player. But obviously, he does have the high ground advantage. Classic clearly hasn't watched Star Wars in some time. It's important, bro. He's gonna bring some additional shield batteries here to the low ground very soon, or I guess to the high ground, and poke them towards the low ground. And that is gonna be a disaster in the making. Yeah, so there's the shield battery, or sorry, the Prism. I guess it's an Immortal as a follow-up? I don't know, guys. This doesn't seem like anything that would ever work. There's one Stalker, yay! There's a Sentry now too. Okay, yeah, Immortals are the obvious choice. It's just that I feel like the Zerg is gonna overwhelm all of this. Great thinking, by the way, here from Rogue. Thinking on the fly, knowing what he's going up against, knowing what to do, even though he's probably not played this game in like close to a decade now. Zerglings have snuck out though, and this is a problem. Protoss has nothing to defend main and base, so the main base here completely exposed. What are you gonna do? I think what you're gonna do, Classic, is GG out. Yeah. I mean, you can recall, obviously, right? Yeah, so he recalls a couple of units, but that's not even enough. A Stalker and a Sentry. Okay, there is a shield battery coming up. Ah, you know what? Shield batteries are pretty good. Battery overcharge is quite nice. A lot of queens right now, too. There's a lot of energy here on the shield batteries on the low ground, but honestly, Rogue doesn't need to be here. Yeah, you know what? The fact that he actually finished this up is pretty insane. Nicely done here by Classic. I didn't think he was going to keep his base alive at all. Alright, shield batteries are in the back. Spine crawlers have repositioned them towards the back as well. You know what? Maybe this is working out for Classic. I don't really like this nearly as much as it did. For the Zerg, that is. Still, though, if Classic is gonna give away a Prism again, like we've already seen him do like 4 times in this series, that is one way of shutting all of this down. Okay, more Zerglings are gonna be running out. A couple of their brethren will fall as they split themselves off the pack. One probe here trying to reinforce this, but it's not gonna happen. Okay, Natural Expo right now in a little bit of trouble. Queens here are available. They're trying to hunt down that Prism. That's a lot of Zerglings right now, though. No shield or no Spine Crawler here, or what's it called? A Protoss Spine Crawler. A Photon Cannon. There you go. Okay, he decides to target fire down the shield battery here, which is probably a good decision. Shield battery is going to go down. Probes are now starting to fall left, right, and center as well. Sentry goes down. And that really puts a halt to this cheese that Classic is doing. Nice attempt here from Classic. But good hold here as well by Rogue. Thinking on the fly. Doing a great job. Did the Prism... Okay, no, the Prism didn't die. I guess it went back home to try and see if it could defend, but... 0 workers remain. And while the win condition in StarCraft 2 is to kill all of your opponent's structures, and yes, this does count as structures, there shouldn't be a way for the Protoss player to win, right? I don't know. It is doable, though. That is 4 Immortals. 4 Immortals and a Prism. Backed up towards the safety of shield batteries. Queens don't do a lot of DPS. It is pretty good. Okay, at this point, Rogue sees what his opponent's got, and he sees that it's only just a couple of structures over here at the front. Huge concave here with the Queens, though. Yeah, he's just trying to, like, soak up the energy out of the shield batteries, but there's so many that, like, every time he does any damage, the old ones are gonna already, once again, have their energy ready to go. Going towards the low ground here is also very dangerous, because the Zerglings, obviously, will then have to fight a couple of those Photon Cannons, too. Is he gonna make the commitment? I don't know, man. There's still 3 full HP shield batteries, or full energy shield batteries. God, if Classic wins this, I'm gonna hurt. That's gonna suck, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the build order, but as a Zerg player, I'm already cringing a little bit. Ugh. Unbiased caster? Not quite, no. Oh, okay. So, Rogue hasn't teched up to, like, anything that's gonna reliably be able to deal damage to this. Things like Swarm Host, for example, come to mind. Very ambitious Spine Crawler over here. As long as he keeps the Prism alive and he keeps all of these Immortals alive, this is doable. Yeah, he's picking up another Queen. Oh, this is so dirty. Most of the Protoss units right now, though, very low on shields. But with good control, yeah, Classic is doing a great job. He's keeping them all alive. And the cost effectiveness right now is going through the roof. This is kind of gross. I love it. I think. I don't know. I'm loving and crying it. Or I'm laughing and crying at the same time. He's starting to hit the main base. It almost feels like this is primarily relying right now on a mistake from the Protoss player! My God. Oh, God. Well, couldn't have said that any better. Ha! Very interesting. So, it's not Abyssal Reef. That's map 7. It's a map called Entombed Valley. If I was in charge of choosing the maps here, I wouldn't have picked this one. So, this is a proper old school map. This was made by Blizzard. I know. Ooh, terrifying. So, it was made back in 2011. Late 2011. For Season 5 of the Battle.net ladder. Yeah, at some point, basically, Blizzard stopped making maps altogether, and they started doing tournaments that were held by the community, and they put prize pools up for those community maps. And it was awesome, because the maps that the community made were much better than the Blizzard ones. And obviously, it was also cheaper for Blizzard, because they didn't have to employ anyone to make the maps. They just put out, like, I don't know, I think it was like $10,000 or so at a time to make a bunch of maps. And then they used those maps for a good amount of time, and in the end, I think they may have paid, like, I don't know, $20,000 in total every year, maybe $10,000 in total every year for very good maps, and obviously it's significantly cheaper than employing someone, you know, for map making. Anyways, plus the community got to say and, you know, got to decide what they wanted to see in the maps, which is good for everyone, right? It was a really clever idea from Blizzard. Anyways, what are we doing here? So there's rocks. This is such a terrible map, man. Anyways, there's rocks right over here, separating the natural and the third base. Like, this really kind of ages the map quite a bit, right? Without the rocks, maybe it would be a little bit more doable, but since the natural got blocked, Rogue had to go all the way around. Obviously, this is a 4-player map once again, too. So I guess it's... okay. It is, you know, a little lucky here for Classic that he scouted his opponent first. But this is the easiest 3 bases for Protoss to take ever. And some of the hardest 3 bases to take for Zerg. So I'm already liking this for Classic a little bit better. It's gonna be hard to hold on to that third, right? He needs to kill the rock somehow. Or get a lot of creep spread out here, but... might need to make another additional group of Zerglings here to work on those rocks. Also, the positioning right here of these rocks is also kind of tricky, because, like... say an Adept is hanging out in this area... Zerglings aren't gonna be able to start working on the rocks until link speed is done. Stargate comes up. Yeah, love the idea of a Stargate. Drones have to go all the way around, by the way. Ay, ay, ay. A Spore Crawler, I guess, can cover most of this, but it's, not something the Queens can easily join in. So, or it's not a place, rather, where the Queens can easily join in. So I hope Classic is gonna play a little bit more aggressively here. Makes a lot of sense. He's been playing to the strengths of the map the entire series so far, and he definitely has a chance in taking out Rogue. Alright, yeah, Lynx are working on the rocks from the other side. That makes a lot of sense. If he can kill the tumor, that would be huge. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to pull that off. I don't like this Adept movement too much. Okay, he does kill one. Keeps the Adept alive, so that's important. Void Ray comes up. These rocks need to be down, man. They have 2,000 health as well. It takes forever. Queen going for a second tumor as well. So no inject into third base just yet. Hello. Brenda! You got blocked by a Zergling. Okay. He's like, what? I did that. Void Ray. Working on the Overlord. Is he gonna send it across? No, he's gonna indeed work on the rocks here instead, and then the Oracle is gonna go across. I like it. Makes sense. Fourth base, I guess, is pretty easy to take though here for Rogue. Eh, maybe the map isn't that awful. I don't know what's going on here in the center bit, though. There's like 2 rocks over here. They're like a little plateau, man. You can build your own palace up on the high ground. It has to be symmetrical and beautiful, though, if you're gonna take that base. I guess Protoss could knock down the rocks over here and take the high ground pretty comfortably. If they can, like, you know, not get it scouted. Brenda over here, hard at work. Temporarily, anyways. Oracle in the back of the net. Getting 2 kills. Zerglings right now going around the third. Since the Void Ray is busy right here trying to clear out some Zerglings on that side, the third may actually be in a little bit of trouble. Is it though? I don't think so. Nah. A couple more Zerglings are joining in. This shouldn't, right? No. Oracle would have been here as well. And now the Void Ray is going to continue its day job of killing rocks. 11 drones coming up. 2 Adepts also here. Zerglings obviously were busy on the other side of the map, so if they're, yeah, not home, these Adepts can actually get some work done. Nice movement here from Classic. Thinking again on the fly. Even though I don't think these Adepts are going to have a very good time going home. Yeah, one of them got out for now, but... okay, got killed right away by the Queens. Double Stargate Void Ray! Yay! Everyone's favorite build order. It's good though. I don't blame Classic. It's very strong. It's also very easy to play compared to the other styles. And obviously he's been showing a variety of styles. But this definitely seems to be his bread and butter. There's the Hydro Den. Hey, you know what? I'm impressed that Rogue managed to get 3 bases up and running pretty comfortably. God, these rocks have so much health. I feel like something's been attacking those rocks for the better part of the game and they're still not down. Now, admittedly, it's low-tier units, obviously, but... yeah, it could have been an absolute disaster here for our Zerg player, and he's managed to avoid that. 4th base coming up as well at the 6 o'clock position. Here come the laser beams. 1 queen, taking a lot of damage. 2nd queen, gonna take a lot of damage too. You're gonna need to keep these queens alive. A couple of hydras are coming up right now to replace those lost queens, but once the hydras are gone, or sorry, the queens are gone, the hydras can be picked off pretty easily too, if they're in small numbers anyways. And at that point, the bases are going to be in a lot of trouble. There's the battery overcharge used as well on what's it called, a spore crawler? Okay. Zerglings did sneak into the main base. Impressively done right there by Rogue, but... that's a natural gone, and this is kind of what I was concerned for. While I am impressed that he managed to get units into the base right there of the Protoss player, I guess there was nothing in that wall off. This is a lot of damage right now being done. Hydras... killed as they pop out of the cocoons, and the Hydra Den itself is super exposed. 5 more Hydras start up, but that's the last of it. 2 more Void Rays right now, too. I guess Classic realizes, wait a second, I was gonna go for a ground army as a follow-up, but... if you can't make a unit that really shoots up, that will work out quite well. So in the end, it is Classic who is victorious and who ended up winning the OlimoLeague Invitational number 9. That was a lot of fun. GG's.